if I was coaching right now, I would find Fernando Carcelot and Doug Kimball and start them. But absent that advantage, I think the best way to defend in this modern era with the rules the way they are is to just employ the best principles of pressing, not fouling, working with all seven players to reduce and limit the number of times you have to actually defend a pass into the center and figure out what you want to do. And in my notes, starting at the top there, press without fouling. And if you can, unless you're down one on nobody or two on one, so if you're 6-on-6 and there's nobody on the other team with a free man, you want all seven players to know where the ball is, obviously, and be in the ideal ball side position so that wherever the ball is, you're between the ball and the guy you're guarding. If you're guarding the ball and there is nobody open behind you, your job is to press without fouling. And I highlighted, do not overpress. Sometimes people think that pressing means smothering the guy, getting your hands on him, and creating contact. To me, that's when all the fouls get called. You don't want to you want to avoid contact. You want to avoid tangling up with your man and make him pass the ball or advance the ball without using your body to assist him or to take an easy foul. When your opponent moves, you don't wait for him to move and then figure out what to do. You want to be one step ahead. Know where he wants to go. Try to anticipate that. And whenever your man moves, you move. When they swim, you swim. And you immediately reposition yourself so that if somebody took a snapshot, they would be able to look at you and the guy you're guarding and say, that is perfect defensive position. Because when you have that, your man is kind of up a creek without a paddle. He's not open. He can't make a pass. He's got nobody to pass to, and the clock is running. Sometimes teams will look to create mismatches, particularly in the front court, where they'll swing your best center defender out and bring somebody else in. So you want to be, scouting your opponent, and it's not that hard to keep your best center defender guarding the center when someone swims in and tries to create a mismatch. If you train, if you practice, if your team is used to it, you can switch and let the original center leave and keep your top guy on the next one. Again, in a perfect world. What I should have maybe put first is your goaltender is your quarterback, and he's got 6 players in front of him to direct and utilize and help so that he knows where each one of those guys is. They know where he wants them, and he can use those chess pieces to keep the ball from coming at him and having him, forced to make a stop. The goalie can come out, and I'll use my whiteboard here a little bit. Let's put the ball here. And as I said, this guy is in charge. This guy is the one we're trying to make sure does not end up one-on-one with a referee that wants to kick him out or call a penalty and, get the clock down to, low numbers, 4, 5, 3 seconds left. So the other team starts to kind of forget about getting the ball into the center or scoring a goal, and they're worried about getting back on defense so they don't get beat. So if this guy is here, we want to be assuming there's nobody open, nobody that is going to receive a pass for a dunk or an easy shot. We want to press here without fouling, so there's no pass here. Here without fouling, no pass here. So, basically, just like in basketball or soccer, you want to play between the ball and your man. which is all well and good until the ball moves. This guy we would want over here, so there's no opening to pass the ball in. Now, one kind of geometrical variation to that would be, let's put the center over here and the ball's there. Well, if you're here, yes, you're in the passing lane, you're playing ball side, but this whole area right here is a problem. So when this guy's on the post or near the post or outside the post, what we would want our team to do, instead of playing on the outside shoulder here, play on the inside shoulder. Because when the ball is passed in, let's say from the one position into the center forward and comes here, there's really no, if you're defending here, there's really no angle unless you can squeeze a backhand in behind the center defender. And also the distance for this guy to come back and help when the ball goes from outside in is pretty manageable. So again, the one exception to playing on the ball side at the center position is if the center is extremely close to one post or the other, we'll then talk to our center, ideally have our goalie talk to the center and say inside shoulder or outside shoulder, depending on where he is. So you want to be on the inside shoulder here, even though you're not in the passing lane. Does that make sense? And again, the other thing that I see teams kind of giving into when they really don't need to is when your center defender ends up, despite his or her best efforts, out of position. We have this situation here, and goalies are afraid to come out. Well, you don't have to come out all the way. You don't have to come out and get in the passing lane. As long as you're mobile and you are at least a threat to come out and double team from the goal, these people can all stay in press and not give up an outside shot. And again, you want to have a mobile goalie. You want to have somebody that understands that situation, can communicate, and is good at coming out and at least making it a threat that pass is going to be intercepted. Same thing on this side. If this guy's over here and the ball's here, just giving the threat that you're going to come out and double team. And some teams have goalies that are afraid to do that. Some teams have goalies that do it too much. But I think for me, rather than leave somebody that's a good shooter on the perimeter open from the beginning of a possession, if you can press without fouling, use your goalie, have the right athlete in here to do his job, I think that's a lost art in today's game. I'm going to go back to my notes. This player, this center defender here, and again, you can look at the notes to me. The ideal center defender, long, Victor Wembanyama long is good, mobile, quick in the horizontal and vertical position, and there's a million drills you can use both at this position and anywhere else in the pool to help train your players to be able to reposition themselves and go from the wrong side to the right side of the man they're guarding. Understanding where the shot is likely to come from if the ball does come into the center, and what type of shot. Again, this is a complete departure from, hey, if the ball comes into the center, take a kick out and get out. We'll play 5-on-6. I think if it's me, I would try to reduce those situations and have a good center defender that can defend the shooter. If you wait for the man at the center to pick up the ball, and you're in position and you're alert and you're on your legs, there's no guarantee. I mean, still block the shot. If you're good at it, and this is, again, Doug Kimball back in the 80s, he would just sit there and wait for the guy to pick the ball up and then block the shot with his right hand. His left hand didn't matter. They couldn't get the ball over him. They couldn't get it around him. And the goalie really didn't have to worry. And again, utilize the available shooting angles that this center has or doesn't have. And the closer he gets to the 2-post or the 3-post, the smaller the goal becomes for him to actually have an open to score. So again, going back to, maybe this is an oversimplification. I would play a game unless I knew that I was just completely overmatched talent-wise. My goal would be start from the moment the other team gets the ball, try to run that shot clock down as far as possible, and train your players to be in the most advantageous, perfect place with relationship to the ball, with the best body position in relation to where their man might want to go, avoid being in bad position, and run that clock down and work with the quarterback of the team to readjust anywhere the ball goes, from the 1 to the 2 to 3, 4, 5, and just be one step ahead of the sheriff when the other team tries to move the ball. If you watch a typical game now, especially at the high level in college, they're so worried about the center that the perimeter players have unlimited, well, not unlimited, they have a whole bunch of free ball movement opportunities, especially up top. And you'll see 5, 6, 7, 8 passes on the perimeter where there's really nobody contesting the pass. They're just covering up in the center. And some of these shooters that are coming over from Europe and down in South America, they're hard to stop. And it's amazing how a team full of really good shooters isn't all that good when they have a guy in front of them in their face, not fouling them, just restricting their ability to even see the goal, let alone make a good pass or take a shot. And I just think that's a lost art in today's game. Center play. The goaltender position, to me, gets wasted, generally speaking, because there's so much unnecessary fouling that goes on the perimeter and especially now that you can shoot the ball when you get fouled behind the 6-meter line, you don't want to be helping out at on one side or the other of the center and have some guy with a cannon getting a free shot from 6 meters out. It's hard, both of those things. But and again, the physicality, and this is a little bit bigger problem than just how to guard the center. The physicality works to your disadvantage if you're good enough to be mobile, to move from one side to the other. And there's a million drills you can do to try and improve those skills. But to me, a 7-man collaboration where everybody is connected and helping the helper and working together, there's no reason the game has to be so predictable and, in my mind, so boring that you're going to double teams. And how many times have you seen a game where by the time when the ball comes into set, there's 4 defenders crowded around the ball?
Yeah, agreed.
That just doesn't make sense. If you're any good at kicking it out, you can take advantage of that. But when you got 4 people on one, I think that means a whole bunch of other people are wide open. So I don't know if that answers your question, but unless I have a complete mismatch at that center position, I would train my team to minimize the number of times that ball comes in with a really good
Yep.
chance.
Yep. No, totally agree. And as you mentioned earlier, I think the trend is it's almost an automatic kick out anyway if you're positioned behind. And anytime we
Absolutely.
can, let's get in front. Yep.
Absolutely. And here's another thing I would say. Uh, Anybody that does something radically different than what everybody else is doing, well, now all of a sudden they've got to adjust to you. Uh, I remember vividly, and this is 35 years ago, the first time we took a group from the East Coast out to the Junior Olympics. And again, speaking of getting a bunch of really, I had two future Olympians on my 17 and under Junior Olympic team, both in high school, both had played together for years. And we went to a tournament at Villa Park, and a guy who was coaching a team that I won't mention had a couple of really, really good players, gave me the ultimate compliment after we beat the snot out of him. He said, I've been coaching here for 12, 15 years, and we have never been pressed like that in my life. And he didn't mean that we smothered them or beat them up or just manhandled them, because we didn't. We just tried to do what I just described for 4 quarters, and it worked out. And that group ended up, this was the weekend before the Junior Olympics, that group ended up winning the Junior Olympics, first time a team from out of the California had done that. And again, two Olympians on your team in high school, that makes you look good as a coach. But when your scheme or your tactics are radically different than what everybody seems to be doing now, well, teams aren't used to that, and they start doing things that are out of character. And the next thing you know, your counterattacks going one on nobody, 2-on-1.
Yep. Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Um, I'll go back to, sorry, I'll go back to the rules. And I don't know, you can certainly go online and watch the semis and the finals at the men's NC2As this year. And I thought the coaches, Fordham's coaches in particular, even though they lost in the semis in a close game, the plan that those teams had to take advantage of the scoring box that's now in the rules, bringing the ball inside the two, outside the scoring box, and then finding a dry pass to a hand with a guy who has somehow gotten inside. If you watch the Fordham USC game, the first quarter of that game, there were about 4 or 5 penalties where all this team did was get a guy inside water with a hand up. And with the new rule about, you can't defend a guy from behind unless you get all ball or all hand. Watch those games and kind of take some tactical hints from that and put them into your program. So again, just back to my notes. Center play. Think of Nikola Jokic with a water polo cap on. And everybody would like to have someone that size on their team. Great centers do not show emotion when calls don't go their way. They don't overreact when the defender gets away with something. And, I think that pretty much is self-explanatory. Great centers know when they have a legitimate chance. This is a huge thing. Great centers know when they have a legitimate chance to score natural goals and when they don't. When they don't, they understand what to do to induce the referee to reward them with an exclusion or a penalty. And again, this goes back to, I wish I'd have known this a little bit more decisively when I was coaching. I've seen, since I started reffing and stopped coaching, I've seen thousands of low percentage shots taken by centers who had virtually no chance to score, when all they had to do is just make a good strong water polo move, quarter turn, quarter backhand turn, you name it. And the referee is pretty much standing on their tiptoes, waiting to make an exclusion call or call a penalty. And then the center goes and decides, I got to shoot this thing. It came into me. I want to score a goal. And it, the ball dribbles 2 feet and the goalie laughs at him and picks it up. So, and if you know John McBride at Bucknell, he's one of the best I've seen at the college level at training his players at Bucknell to make that distinction. Okay, the ball's coming in. I have really good position. I got my legs under me, and I can get a hell of a shot off, regardless of what this defender is doing right now. Score the goal. Or I don't have that kind of advantage, and I'm patient enough, smart enough, trained well enough that all I'm going to do is absorb the foul, make an offensive move towards the goal with my turn hand or my backhand or even my offhand. And generally speaking, if you make a 90-degree turn with the ball with either hand in either direction and absorb the foul, you're going to get an exclusion or you're going to get a penalty. And training a young player to make that distinction between when to shoot and when to let the referee reward you is half the battle. The last thing on center play that I had, and it's in my notes, and again, this is going to kind of reflect how old I am. Ted Newland, rest his soul, trained his centers to be ready to receive the entry pass dry. And again, with the new rules, if you receive a good dry pass at the center position that you're prepared to do something with, you're going to beat the double team, you're going to beat the triple team, but the crash isn't going to get there in time for them to have any secondary defender there to affect your shot. And as I said, with the new rules, if you're getting up to receive a pass and the ball comes into you dry and the defender is behind you, they're out of luck. They've got to stick their hands up and let the goalie figure out how to block it, because anything they do other than take the ball out of your hand or hit your hand, it's going in the goal. And, again, watch the NC2A semis and the finals, and you'll see that more than I've ever seen it at that level. And that's pretty much what I had in the notes. So if there's any questions, anybody else wants to contradict anything I've said, I'm happy to take it on board.
Do you have any good recommendations on practices to learn how to make those decisions, whether the center should shoot or pass back out or turn?
Yeah. I learned this from John Vargas. You don't need to do everything 6-on-6. Start 2-on-2. And, you got to have a nice facility. You got to organize it. You can't have kids sitting around picking their nose during practice, but start 2-on-2. Perimeter player, center, defender, and just play out a possession where the perimeter player and the center, just like on a basketball court, they're playing 2-on-2. And you coach each possession, coach each situation, and blow your whistle to try and enhance the right decision by the players and correct them when they do it wrong. Play 2-on-2. Sometimes you can say, all right, we're going to play 2-on-2, make it, take it. And if you don't make it, the other two guys go the other way and they get some conditioning in, sprint to the other end, and play 2-on-2 that way. You got a couple coaches. You can so that's 4 players. You can put 4 players in front of the goal, run that drill. As soon as they go the other way, the next 4 step in and they're ready to they go down the pool. Next 4 come in, they're ready to go. You got 2 courses, you're doing that on both sides. So build it up from 2-on-2, then go 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and then obviously you end up 6-on-6. But you've kind of micromanaged what each player at each position is doing, starting with 2s and then working your way up to 6s. And again, the more coaching that goes on, the more you can kind of encourage the defenders to do the right thing, correct them when they're not. To me, that's basically just breaking it down from, the part to the whole. And I used to do that for, an hour with our guys. Sometimes more, and after about an hour, they get sick of it. And there's any number of drills you can do to work on, individual positioning. Certainly look at video, and when you like what you see, stop it. Point out that everybody's in the right place and the other team has no place to go. When you don't like what you see, stop it. Show this guy, hey, if you'd have been here instead of there, this pass doesn't get made, the ball doesn't go into the set. Or if you'd have been here instead of there, your guy wouldn't have been able to go back door. Or these 2 guys wouldn't have been able to run a pick and get somebody free in front of the goal. So video is invaluable. And looking at video, that's the other thing I think I put in the notes. There is so much material available on the internet. You can just imagine something that you want to learn about more, or see some ideas that you want to incorporate into your program. Just type it into your Google bar and you'd be amazed at what you find. Or, Kellyanne, go on the CWPA website and look at the archives.
Couple
So
resources.
I ran a camp down here in Boca Raton this weekend, and there was one kid in the camp who had no idea what egg beater was or how to do it. He couldn't even do breaststroke kick. So we worked with him for an hour and a half. And I got on the website, I pulled up the egg beater video with Brad and Wolf and a few other people, and I texted it to this kid. He took a water break. We went off and did something else for 10 or 15 minutes. He gets back in the water, and I said to him, hey, Tim, I sent you a video of how to do egg beater. It's the same stuff we've been working on. And, when you get home, you can check that out, and hopefully it'll help you a little bit. He looks at me and goes, I already saw it. He had his phone, had his water bottle, he had his phone out, and he's checking that video out before we got back in the pool. And, hopefully it helped. But, there's just an amazing abundance of resources on the internet. And again, to date myself, you go back to some of the stuff that Bill Barnett and Dante Dedimonte and Monty Nitzkowski have put out there for free. Those guys helped me become a halfway decent coach, more than I can ever thank them for.
Hey, Mike.
Sure.
Gene Gill here. How are you?
Hi, Gene.
Hey, so I did this when I was coaching high school, and was wondering if you did this in your coaching career. But I would use my seniors as occasional referees during scrimmages. And I was just curious if you ever did that.
No. You mean the seniors that were out of eligibility?
No, just seeing, your guys that were playing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I wanted us to have as much of a conditioning advantage over whoever we were playing. And I had limited practice time because the Naval
Sure.
Academy a little more, and even high school kids. I just wanted them playing and improving their conditioning and their fitness and their skills. And I wouldn't wanted to put up with them refereeing anyhow, because
Gotcha.
sometimes you get what you pay for, or
Right.
be careful what you wish for. I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
Right.
I felt like there were better priorities for our guys to be in the water doing it, and having the people without eligibility blowing the whistle.
Gotcha.
But I don't
Thank you.
disagree that it's helpful.
Thank you.
Sure. Good to hear from you, Gene.
Same here.
I've got one more question for you. Do you notice any difference between like center defense between men and women? Any like tips on how to like train them differently, or would you have anything to say on that?
Well, number one, I feel bad for the women because there's more suit to grab and more chicanery that gets, that kind of gets, you got to really watch that. I don't know, it's even written into the rule book that a suit grab is an exclusion or a turnover on offense. So that, but I would say, I think physiologically, women generally are better at playing in the horizontal than the men. So they could even do a better job of getting into the ball side, playing off their opponent, and moving around a little bit better than the men. Because the men are usually a little denser. I mean, physically. And it's a little harder for a guy to stay horizontal than for a woman. I also think women listen a lot better. They're a lot more coachable, and maybe they'll do what you want a little more than the men. No offense, men. But the whole suit thing is a problem, because you really don't know what's going on most of the time with all the material that can be accessed.